Right, again, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's postgraduate support group meeting. I'm Leni Liebenberg, and I'm very happy to be hosting this particular session as part of the Postgraduate Academy program. Now, today's session will be hosted by the UKZN Student Support Services team, and they'll be kicking off a series focused on the roles of health and wellness on our performance. And this will be taking place over the next 2 weeks. And the team will be discussing various aspects of mental health, of wellness in general, mental health, coping with stress, burnout, fatigue, physical wellness, etc. And we'll explore ways to promote general wellness for success. So, as always, this is a very informal, very interactive session. So please feel free to pop any questions or comments in the chat box, or use your reaction icons to express some feelings, some emotions, some constructive criticism, or any comments or any feelings that you'd like within the chat box and the reaction icons. Don't want to spend too much time, and I will just hand over to the UKZN Student Support Services team on hand. I see Christy Greener and Willie Thaler are online with us, and I'll leave them to introduce themselves and the topic for today. Welcome, SSS team, and thank you for making time to join us and meet with us today.
Thank you so much, Lenine. Hello, everyone. I'm Willie Taver, and I'm a student counselor in the College of Health Science, and we're going to bring to you quite a lovely session today. Over to Christy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Willie, can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. My name is Christy Greener, and I am a clinical psychologist and student counsellor based in the College of Health Sciences. Mental health and wellness is one of my passions, combating stigma, promoting mental health, uptake of mental health services. So this is really an exciting topic for me. And we're going to be looking at today we're going to be looking at mental health and wellness, and we're going to be looking at self-care. Willie's going to do the presentation on self-care, and I'm just going to give a little bit of a talk surrounding mental health and wellness. Now, I know you're...
We also have Nandi. No, we also have Nandi from our team that's joining us today, and I'd like Nandi to meet everyone because she will also be facilitating sessions going forward.
Okay, sorry, Willie. Nandi?
Thank you, colleagues. Hi, everyone. My name is Nandi Njangase, and I'm a student counselor too at Triple S. I work across 2 schools, which is Westville campus as well as at medical school. So with the medical school, I work with the first years up to 3rd years, and then with the Westville campus, LMMS, I work with from 1st year up until postgraduate. So I'm looking forward to be working with you guys as we continue throughout the year. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. Thank you.
So I work with the School of Health Sciences, which is OT, physio, pharmacy, sports science, optometry, audiology. I'm trying to think if I've missed anyone. Dental therapy and speech therapy. And I work from 1st year all the way up until postgraduate level. So I'm going to be talking about mental health and wellness. I know as postgrads, you're probably rolling your eyes at me right now and saying, we know, but just bear with me in any case. So before I start, I don't really like to use PowerPoint slides. I prefer a more interactive approach. So I'm going to ask if you could hop over to the chat space. And when I say mental health, what kind of comes up for you? What for you is mental health? And I think I'll put Lenine in the hot seat. Lenine, what comes up for you when I say mental health?
I think breathing. That's my first thought. Just breathe, deep breaths and try to calm down.
Thank you. Okay, so I got Lenine. Anyone feeling brave? Or you can unmute and just give me an idea of what you think, what sums up for you when I talk about mental health.
Christy, can I add some more while people are
Yes,
thinking?
of course.
So for me, when I picture mental health, I picture general health, general wellness, calmness, happy. It's a wonderful, colorful, calm picture that goes on in my mind. I see other people in the chat box have also added to this. Happiness, the absence of stress, depression and dealing with issues of life, peace of mind.
I like the first one, and I don't know if it's aimed at you, Lenny, but it says, sounds like instability already. I'm not sure who that's aimed at.
Perhaps.
Very nice, guys. So yes, your happiness, it's more of a balance, okay? Because well-being, cool. So it relates to well-being, yes. And our well-being is based along a continuum. So the link between physical and mental health is well established. So in order to take care of our mental health, we also have to take care of our physical health and vice versa. And just to give you an example, think about when you're sick, when you're really sick, and say, for example, at the moment, there's flu going around. So think about how you feel when you've got flu. Are you feeling chirpy and happy and ready to take on life? That's just an example of how your mental and physical health are linked. And if you think about it, if you've had a good night's sleep and you're feeling rested, you often feel much more positive about the day that's coming. So that's just a small example of our physical and mental health are linked. So I'm going to be talking about the mental health side of things, but also emphasizing some of the physical things that you can do when you are trying to improve your mental health. So the World Health Organization writes that there is no health without mental health, and for good reason, because mental health is often very much minimized, gosh, my words, minimized in terms of the focus on mental health and the importance it is given. So for example, if in the health budget, mental health is one of the most underfunded aspects of our budget, and much of our research on mental health is actually funded by external donors. So a lot of our research on mental health, actually it is funded by external funders, which is very sad and very concerning in our country, that mental health is very much minimized, and up to 75% of people who have a mental illness or mental health condition will not receive services. So there is a drastic shortage of mental health services in our country. Our mental health services are very stretched. And as you know, when the Department of Health, when someone leaves, they don't necessarily fill the post, they tend to freeze it. So our mental health services are not generally available to all who need them, which is very concerning. The highest rated mental illnesses tend to be your mood and anxiety disorders. And it is said that in the coming years, depression is going to be one of the top causes of illness in the world, not just in South Africa, but in the world. In terms of the burden of disease, depression is going to be one of the top causes. I haven't had a chance to look at the top 10, but I'm pretty sure it's up there already, but it's going to climb higher as time goes on. So all this is really pointing to the fact that we need to take our mental health very, very seriously. And, you know, we are, as healthcare professionals, extremely, well, not always, but generally good at taking care of our physical health. We're not well, we go to the doctor, we get medication, we sort it out. But we are not as great as when it comes to our mental health. We've got a bit of stress, you know, just push it down, keep going, push it down, keep going, push it down, until we can no longer push it down, and it becomes a huge problem, and then, whoops, we have a problem. So, my next question to you is, what do you think are some of the signs that your mental health needs attention? Think for yourself, what do you think are some of the signs that signify that, uh-oh, something is not right and I need to attend to it? Fatigue. Thanks, Ladine. So Lanine's got fatigue. Difficulty sleeping, yes. Overeating. Okay, so some sort of procrastination. Lack of productivity and interest. Very good, loss of interest in activities. You guys are on fire today. I'm not sure you need me to present this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so physical signs that your mental health needs attention are sleep difficulties. So that would be oversleeping or not being able to sleep at all. Then there are changes in your appetite. So as Lenine said, overeating, but then you also get people who don't eat. So they stop eating, and you'll notice either a weight loss or a weight gain that's unintentional. There'll be headaches and body pains. There will be sometimes heart palpitations, you know, rapid heartbeat, changes in blood pressure. There will be changes in your concentration. So you'll find that you're not able to focus as well as you should. There also might be things like, if you think of anxiety, you're thinking of tremors, you're thinking of shaking, you're thinking of sweating, you're thinking of gastrointestinal disturbances, because our brain and our gut are very much connected. So we're looking at nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and also things like ulcers, etc., because you can get an ulcer if you're stressed, believe it or not. One thing my doctor is always saying to me is, you don't drink, you don't smoke, but you're way too stressed. So that's where your ulcers come from. So you can get ulcers from being stressed, I've discovered the hard way. So some of the psychological or your emotional aspects are continuous worry, even when there's nothing specific to worry about, feelings of sadness or hopelessness, feelings of guilt, that's guilt, like overactive guilt, when an overwhelming sense of guilt, feeling overwhelmed, feeling that things are never going to change, or that there's nothing you can do to change the situation, it's called learned helplessness. So what that is I'm just going to give you an experiment, and please, I like to do this. So what they did was they had these dogs in a cage, and every time the dog would jump out of the cage, they would get an electric shock. And eventually they found that the dogs would stop trying to jump out of the cage, even if there was no electric shock. So the dogs learned that they develop the sense that no matter what I do, I'm going to get an electric shock, even if the electricity is not on, so I might as well not bother. So that is where you feel like nothing you can do is going to make a change, like you've tried everything and nothing is happening. Contemplating suicide, suicidal ideation, or self-harm, so cutting, burning, deliberate acts of harm to yourself. Then we also have auditory hallucinations, so hearing of voices that no one else can hear, or delusions, which are beliefs that are not rooted in reality. And then we have, if you look at the behavioral symptoms, there will be things like you said, a lack of motivation, a sense of apathy, so not wanting to get out of bed, to get dressed, to shower, to eat, to bath, to do anything, to go to work. There will also be, what can I say? Sorry, my brain is going 5 minutes ahead of my voice, so I'm having to slow down here. There will also be like a lack of motivation, and there will also be consequences like overeating. There will also be things like if you engage in smoking or drinking or taking drugs, there will be an increase in substance use. There will be risky behavior, so maybe unprotected sex with multiple partners. There might be, even if you think of something like reckless driving, so that would be, driving at speed without a seatbelt. There might be things like I said earlier, the cutting or the suicidal gestures, so taking overdoses, etc., etc. So that in a brief nutshell. Now I want to emphasize that we all have bad days. There are just days that just don't go our way. And that is completely normal, because there are not, unfortunately, lives are not always going to go our way. It's when you notice that you are having more bad days than good, then it becomes a problem. When you find that you are having more bad days than good, when you find that you are having more of these symptoms, because when we are stressed, when you have short-term stress, we often do experience some of these symptoms. So we have sleepless nights, but once the stress has passed, we generally go back to our normal way of functioning. But when we are chronically stressed, or if there's some sort of mental illness that's coming along, then you will find that you have a cluster of these symptoms, and that they're generally lasting for more days than they don't. So generally in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it specifies, for example, that depression is a period of at least 2 weeks where you have experienced a cluster of symptoms. So generally, yeah, when you're noticing that you're having more bad days than good days, then it's a sign that, I need to start seeking professional help. I also wanted to briefly talk to you about the stigma associated with mental health and with the uptake of mental health and wellness services, because I did a study last year on looking at mental health literacy in the College of Health Sciences. And what I did was I sent out a survey which had both closed and open-ended questions, and I asked students to respond on a Likert scale, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, in terms of the stigma that I put out several myths and misconceptions about mental health, and most concerningly, the majority of people supported these myths and misconceptions. So the first thing I want to talk about is the myth that mentally ill patients are dangerous. About 95% of mental health patients are not dangerous. When there is danger involved, it often involves substances. So when you've heard of a a patient that's done or is very aggressive, etc., a lot of the time it's to do with substances. Most patients with a mental illness, especially an untreated mental illness, are absolutely terrified because, for example, if you take a schizophrenic, imagine that you one day are going about your business and the next minute you're hearing a voice, a completely unrelated voice that sounds like someone is right next to you, but there's no one right next to you. And this person is saying that you're a horrible, evil, nasty person and you should kill yourself. Imagine how frightening that must be. So most people with mental illnesses are not dangerous. They're actually really scared a lot of the time because they don't understand what's happening to them. The next one I want to talk about is the idea that mental illness is contagious. So a lot of the students felt that mental illness is contagious. It is not. You cannot catch any form of mental illness from another person. What can happen, and I'm sure some of you who are medical doctors, etc., could say, is what's called vicarious trauma. So, for example, if I have something very traumatic happen to me and I come along and I talk to you about it, you might experience what we call vicarious or secondary trauma. But generally, I cannot pass on my depression or my bipolar disorder to anybody. It is not something that is contagious. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the idea that if you talk to someone about suicide, it will make them want to do it. That is a myth. Talking to someone about suicide does not necessarily mean that they are going to go and kill themselves. Often, when you talk to someone about suicide, it actually frees them up to talk to you, especially if they're having these thoughts and these feelings. So when you talk to them and you give them the option to actually say to you, yes, this is actually how I feel, then you can actually open a door and a conversation. And just because you talk to someone about suicide doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to plant the seed. If they're already thinking about it, they're already thinking about it. So there's no research that supports the idea that because you talk to someone about suicide, that they went and killed themselves and therefore it's your fault. The other thing the next stigma I wanted to talk to you about is the idea that mental illnesses are caused by witchcraft. I know that that could be quite a strong belief in some communities, and most definitely there are illnesses that we refer to as culture-bound syndromes, where some of the symptoms of a mental illness could be, for example, I'm thinking of ukutwasa in isiZulu, where there are sometimes symptoms of depression that actually are a result of being called to become a sangoma. So you have to, when you're taking a history from someone, you have to sort of find out, is there a history of traditional healing in your family? Because often the call to be a sangoma actually comes down the generations. So when you are doing an intake for mental health and illness, it's something that you have to be aware of and make sure that you bear this in mind. So there are syndromes that are called culture-bound syndromes. Generally, mental illnesses are caused by a, what can I say? It's a combination of things. We refer to them as the biopsychosocial model. So there are biological factors, there are psychological factors, and there are social factors that influence mental health and illness. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. And I'm pretty sure that, are you guys aware of any other stigmas that perhaps I've missed that you would like me to talk to you about, or that you would like to raise awareness of? Are there any stigmas that I perhaps haven't spoken about here that you've heard of? Because it's always useful to find out what other people have heard of, and so that we can at least start debunking these stigmas.
I haven't heard any, not to my knowledge, but in the media, you constantly see mental illness associated with anything negative. You are dangerous. You are going to hurt me. You're going to affect my family. You need to get out. And from what you're saying about it, it's a horrible thing to be projected so far and widely in the media as well. I see employee noted in the comments.
Black men don't get depressed. That is not true. Although there is a statistic that shows that women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with, for example, depression as men. And I'm not sure that is because women are more likely. I think it reflects the fact that women are more likely to come forward with an illness and be diagnosed than men. And that's the other thing, is that mental health, they will say mental illness is because you are weak, because you are there is nothing weak in having a mental illness. You are not a coward, you are not weak, you are not mad, you are not crazy. Mental illness is just the same. It's like having a physical illness, and it's something that I say to all my patients. I say to them, if you had diabetes and you had to go on medication, would you, I see your hand, Willie, would you want to not treat it? And there's often this sort of stunned silence, and they're like, no, I never thought of it that way. And that mental illness is just the same as your physical illness. It needs treatment. Willie?
So I was just going to add to that as well, because I think in the field that we are in, we find that many students suffer in silence and allow the symptoms to just fester and disguise it under many other kinds of illnesses or phenomenon, etc. And to the point that by the time a student actually reaches out for support, it is really, really, you can't really do any kinds of preventative or support, and can't actually do much education and awareness around what's happening, because then immediately treatment, medication, hospitalization is required. So I'm just saying that, we sometimes tend to allow a situation to escalate too far before we actually get the support that we need, and we can actually get help immediately.
Yes, and I think as healthcare professionals, we are very guilty of doing this, because we sometimes feel that we should be immune because we're in the field and we should know what we're doing, and etc., etc. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be this perfect person that's got it all together, and we don't realize that we're just as human as everybody else, and we put everybody else ahead of ourselves. We don't take the time out to sort of take the time to focus on ourselves. We forget that if you want to be able to help others, you've got to be able to help yourself first. So we sort of taught to feel that, oh, if you're focusing on yourself, you're being selfish, you're not taking care, you need to be taking care of other people, and that can lead to a disastrous result. So it's always important, in an airplane, when you're flying and they do the safety demonstration and there's an oxygen mask, and they always say to you, make sure your mask is fitted properly before you assist other people. And it's the same with your health. You've got to make sure that you are taking care of your health to ensure that you are, before you can take care of other people. I think we are very good. So the mental health continuum, there are different aspects of health and wellness. Sorry, Nandi, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you, Christina. It's not a stigma, but I wanted to add that there's so many other factors that do contribute to how a person's mental health will be. It's not just how one learns how to cope or how one gets to take care of themselves physically and emotionally, but other social factors such as financial security, nutritional intake, and family systems, they very much do contribute to how one's mental health is going to be. So I think it becomes very important for one to do also try and balance out those other social issues and many more others that I haven't mentioned.
And I think it's also important to note that positive things in our lives can also cause us to be stressed. I mean, if you think of doing your PhD or doing your master's or doing your honors, it is a very, very important thing. And it's, it's very positive, but the amount of work that goes into it, the amount of time, the amount of effort, the balance that you have to have, because you might be working, you might be a dad, you might be a mom, you might be a brother, sister. Yes, deadlines. So as much as it is positive and it is a good thing and you're furthering your education to be able to provide for yourself and your family, it also is a huge amount of effort and sacrifice that you are making. And so you honestly need to allow yourself to say to yourself, you know what, it's okay, I am doing the best I can. But if you need help, it's vitally important to get help. Willie, are you going to be advertising our services at the end?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So mental health is obviously on a continuum. As I started off by saying, it is there, and I think Willie can just guide me because I've lost my way slightly. Willie, in terms of the continuum,
Oh, sorry. So no, just in terms of all that you shared, in terms of ill health and, how our health is, we talk about the continuum and where do we strive to be in that aspect.
Yes. So, at the one end is mental illness, which is, and I focused a lot on mental illness today, and Willie's going to focus on the other side of the continuum, which is what can we actually do to improve our mental health, to sort of keep it so that we don't get to the point. And that doesn't mean that mental illness is never going to happen, because it might. And the thing is that a lot of people tend to feel like they are responsible for it. It's my fault. But nobody asks for depression. Nobody asks for diabetes or blood pressure or anything. But for some reason, when it comes to mental health, oh, it's my fault. And mental illness is just that. It's an illness. And it needs to be given the recognition that it deserves, that it's okay. If I have this problem and I need assistance, I need to reach out. I need to get the help I need. And I think I want to emphasize that you guys are not alone. I know Willie's going to share the contact details, but we are here to help you. You do not have to be alone. Do not suffer in silence. You do not have to be alone with this. There are qualified professionals who are here to assist you. So please, 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 if by listening to this presentation, you're feeling like, oh dear, I think my mental health needs some assistance and I think I need some professional help, we're here. It's a confidential, free service from first year right up until postgrad. We are here to assist you. We are here to service you, to help you in any way. It's a non-judgmental. We're not there to judge. We're not here to blame. We are only there to assist you. So please, if you need to, please take up our services. Please, please, please don't wait until you're in a corner and you feel like the only way out is to try and do something harmful to yourself. I cannot stress this enough. There are people who care. There are people who want to help you. So I think From my side, I'm going to hand over to Willie, who's going to look at the other side of the continuum, which is looking at positive mental health. And she is going to talk to us a bit about our own self-care. So thank you very much, Willie. Thank you very much, Lenine.
Thank you so much, Christy. Willie, would you like me to share my screen? Willie, if you're trying to speak, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. I just thought I'll introduce the aspect and then we'll hand over to you to screen share, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I'm going to keep my video off because I noticed that my connection is a little bit wacky. So if that's okay with all of you. So thanks to Christy for laying a foundation and having a conversation with us on mental wellness and a bit on the continuum and, you know, where we are all striving to be. I'm hoping to build on this by focusing on developing a mental health first aid kit. Not me developing it, but by helping you to develop a mental health first aid kit and, you know, look at self-care principles and some practical tips that will maintain your holistic wellness and personal self-care. So, you know, we often hear of this word. So what is self-care? And overall self-care is essential for all of us to maintain this physical, emotional, and mental health, as well as to good mental health, and also as well as to prevent burnout and provide the best possible care for ourselves, our students, our families, our patients, our employees, etc. And why is self-care so important then for you as a postgraduate student? So there's a couple of things I'm touching on. Generically, self-care and bringing it home to you as a student. So the demanding and stressful nature of your academic work, coupled with all the other responsibilities that you carry, you know, work, family, home, etc. You as an adult learner, you are expected to deliver on all of these aspects, and certainly it can take a toll on your physical, your emotional, and your mental health. Therefore, practicing self-care can help you to manage stress and promote well-being, which can improve your motivation in your academic journey. It can improve job satisfaction and your overall quality of life. We often associate mental health and wellness and self-care with stress, fatigue, burnout. And burnout is a common problem amongst healthcare practitioners. And this can actually lead to decreased job performance, compassion fatigue, and even depression. So therefore, self-care practices can help prevent burnout by promoting resilience and building coping skills. So this presentation can't really focus too much on burnout, stress, fatigue. Surely we're going to have other sessions where you will go in depth into that, but today we wanted to focus on you starting to develop your first aid kit, your mental health first aid kit, just like you would have a first aid kit for any kinds of physical injuries in your cupboard or in your car. We need you to also start developing a mental health first aid kit. So Lenine, you can share your screen, because I thought before I could actually go on to all of the self-care tips, I'd like us to share, you know, you share with us, what self-care tips do you actually adopt and how do you actually cope?
Thanks, Willie. And I put on, I hope you can see the screen I'm sharing. In the chat box, to make it easy for you, I've listed the instructions. You can go to www.menti.com and use the code 34820684 in order to participate in this exercise.
So how do you care for yourself? What helps you to cope? That's what we're wanting to hear. And by sharing, we also will be starting to develop our mental health kits. and learn new concepts.
Oh, can you see those?
Mm. Nice.
So you can enter up to 10 entries in this exercise. I should have had some music playing in the background for this, Emily.
Hey, yeah, that would have been amazing.
You wouldn't be able to put it on YouTube. There are copyright laws.
Oh, yeah. Maybe if somebody's coping mechanism is making music, we could do that.
So share with us all that you do to take care of yourself. What helps you to cook? So I see shopping coming up, playing with the kids, healthy diet, exercise seems to be quite bold, baking, meditation, sleep, play, deep breathing, reading, running, listening to music, mindfulness. So there's really some lovely tips coming and lovely techniques that you are already adopting to take care of yourself. Okay, so I wonder if you still want to continue with that. I'm sure that the list will continue to grow. Okay. Switching off, weekend switching off. I like that one because I love to do that. Switch off. Watch a movie. Lenine, do you want us to wait a little bit longer for more responses?
I can keep this running in the background if you'd like to continue.
Yes, that would be lovely.
All right, so I'll just stop sharing. You can continue, and if you'd like, I can update the group with any new entries.
Yes. So I think that will be lovely because then we're going to get an idea from you know, how we grow in the session as well. So as trained caring professionals, often we think of self-care as selfish, and that came up earlier as well, or something that we do after we have taken care of other duties and other responsibilities and other obligations. So know that this process of self-care, as we have talked about in the definitions in the slides before this, is from the moment you are about to wake up. Your daily habits that you adopt, your lifestyle on a daily basis, how you study and how you structure your time, what you eat and how you walk and how you engage with others, how you prepare for bed and how you groom yourself. So all of this is about the process of taking care of yourself and becoming aware of that. Think of self-care in different ways. We have just explored the theory with Christy a little bit. We looked at the myths and we looked at what's going on around us globally and within our country. Now we will look at the practical aspects of self-care and which is essential in creating a healing relationship with ourselves, a healing relationships with people that we come across, and a healing environment in which we can actually thrive. So what are some of the basic principles that can guide us? And I want to share these 5 points that I have before you. It's not talking to exactly what a self-care is for you, but it's talking about how do we get around to deciphering self-care practices for ourselves. And number one is looking at boundaries. Establish personal boundaries between you and other people in your life. Define who you are and take responsibility only for your role in creating your reality. There's Byron Katie, who's an author of Loving What Is, says that there are 3 kinds of business: my business, your business, and God's business. Stay in your own business. Secondly, we talk about move from reactive to creative mode. How do we do this? It starts with the way you wake up every morning. What do you say to yourself as you open your eyes? What thoughts go through your mind before you get out of bed? Start noticing whether you are reacting from the minute you start your day. Do you check your emails before getting out of bed? Do you reach for your cell phone before you even open your eyes? Or do you take time to create an intention and a mindset that affirms your sense of self before you begin to respond to others? Thirdly, listen to your body, your intuition, and your felt experience. So we find ourselves in a system where we have been selected and trained to trust the power of our mind over all else, and where you have even been rewarded for your ability to memorize and answer questions correctly. It is a shift in a mindset to begin to listen to the totality of your being, not just your thoughts that we're wanting to look at. How do you tune into your body? Let's look at the next step, which talks about find out what restores you. Only you can know the answer to this. No book, no coach, no friend, no family member or mentor can tell you. When I say restore, I'm not talking about sleeping or alcohol, television, or the internet. These are distractions designed to get us out of our bodies and escape into a sense of illusion. Restorative activities actually engage your mind and your body in a deep, coordinated way and can provide you with a sense of freedom and joy. Maybe it's salsa dancing or golf or badminton or singing karaoke. In order to find out what truly restores your body and your spirit, it would require exploration, something like an adventure. You might explore something and later abandon it when you find that it doesn't work for you. That means you are learning about yourself. Keep doing this. Listen to that faint yet definite inner voice that calls gently to you in the silence of being still and says, wouldn't that be fun? Or doesn't that sound interesting? And then see what happens. And fifthly, give yourself permission to feel good and to want what you want. As you explore the activities that restore you and begin to experience the feeling of joy generated internally from the connection of mind, body, and spirit, you may actually start to feel good. Okay, so I'm seeing some feedback, but my colleagues will help me with that. So self-care is somewhat of a controversial concept. Controversial, yes, because it suggests something about our lives being so stressful that we need to recover from them. Sometimes that's true. However, self-awareness comes first. We need to be able to identify when we are beginning to fray at the edges and when we need replenishing. No more than now have we ever needed to be so aware of the kinds of activities that are replenishing. This really is an important component of self-knowledge. Do you know what replenishes you? Is it Netflix? Is it meeting a friend for coffee? Is it reading, taking a walk, or getting away for a short break? Let's look at some of the practical suggestions which can become everyday practices, which don't require planning, and it can be done even if you only have 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 30 minutes a day. Developing your self-care plan is unique and it needs to be customized to your needs. Assess the areas of your life that need more attention and self-care. Remember to reassess your life often because as your situation changes, your self-care needs might also be changing. And also when you discover that you are neglecting an aspect of your life, create a plan for change. You do not have to change everything at once. Identify one small step that you can take to better care of yourself. So self-care isn't a selfish act. It is not only about considering our needs, It is rather about knowing what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves, and subsequently being able to take care of all the other chores around us. That is, if I don't take care of myself, I won't be in a place to give my loved ones anything of me. Self-care importance is noted when we have the inability to deal with stress, and when stresses and negativity impacts upon our ability to deliver within the various roles that we've assumed. So what does self-care look like? Self-care is any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. So I'm going to share an example for you. This is an example of the self-care bingo. These are just activities that you can engage in that will restore your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. You can draw up your own little bingo chart of things that you like to do and plot it down on that. It's an important part of primary health care because it helps you to engage proactively with yourself to prevent illness and to be able to achieve personal well-being. Remember what we spoke about, the continuum, to be able to move from not feeling too well to be able to move to the other end of the spectrum where you're actually in a much better space and enjoying good emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual health. So there is this misconstrued, this idea that self-care is for women. And that can't be more wrong. It's for everyone. And just a little bit of information on what happens to us when we fail to tend to ourselves. There can be burnout, high irritability, changes in our sleep patterns, compassion fatigue, etc. Self-care is any intentional action taken to improve one's physical, mental, or emotional well-being. It involves engaging in activities or behaviors that will promote good health, reduce your stress, and enhance your overall quality of life. And self-care can take many different forms, including in terms of the physical self-care. This could include aspects such as exercise, eating nutritious foods, getting enough sleep, taking care of your personal hygiene. On the emotional side, this could involve aspects such as managing and regulating your emotions through journaling, meditation, spending time with a loved one. A social self-care involves maintaining healthy relationships with others, including setting your boundaries and seeking support when you need to. Spiritual self-care talks about as aspects around your sense of connection to something greater than oneself, such as prayer, meditation, and spending time in nature. So you have shared some of these aspects with us. And when you are well, you will feel comfortable with who you are. You experience good and positive relationships with peers and family members. You take care of your physical health, pay attention to what you eat and exercise. You cope and manage well. You have sustained energy and motivation. You're willing to learn novel tasks. And you also know that you need to take time to relax. So how do we do this? And I want to ask you, what is in your mental health first aid kit? And so we start taking care of ourselves simply by starting to develop a mental health first aid kit. Remember that self-care is the activity that we deliberately do in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. The aim of self-care is to make explicit and a range of care for ourselves that can restore and enhance our health. That is just congruent with our own personal values and belief systems. So my challenge to you today is start to develop your mental health first aid kit and start to look at what's going to go into my mental health first aid kit. And very quickly, a few ideas. I'm just not sure how I'm going for time. Okay, so in terms of your mental health, these activities that will stimulate your mind and your intellect, such as solving puzzles and reading books. Emotionally, it's connecting with others. And you can do this through and reflecting on your emotions through art or music. Physically, it's to improve your overall physical well-being, getting enough sleep, taking a walk, exercising. Socially, we talked about nurturing and deepening your relationships, just making that call to someone, calling a friend and have meeting for coffee. Spiritually, we look at activities that allow us to think bigger than ourselves, probably engaging in meditation, yoga, spiritual scriptures, reading of spiritual scriptures, etc. On a practical basis, we look at the tasks that you can fulfill, you can complete that will help you to prevent future stressful situations, such as, creating a budget, having a money management plan, having a timetable, a schedule for yourself, so that you'll be able to make time for all activities in your life, including time to take care of yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to skip through on some of these slides, but you will have access to them. In terms of taking care of your basic personal care, we look at aspects such as eat well, sleep well, take care of your personal grooming, and dress up. Enjoy looking the best that you possibly can. Social engagements, schedule time to engage with your family and friends, maintain interpersonal relationships, and positive social interaction. Avoid spending time or excessive amounts of time in isolation. In terms of taking care of yourself on social media self-care, social media has a good and bad side. Spend at least an hour away from your social media. Unfollow those triggering accounts, follow inspiring accounts, turn off notifications, especially when you're studying, and beware of what you share or post on social media. So being physically active leads to enhanced mental concentration and decreased fatigue. Look at all the different ways in which you can get physically active just in your personal surroundings. It doesn't have to be a gym membership, but you can do a lot that can get you physically active right where you are. Follow a regular sleep routine. Sleeping is scientifically proven to enhance our mental health and wellness, and our emotional and physical growth and well-being, and all aspects of our lives in many, many ways. So it's really critical that you get enough sleep. Good sleep hygiene is something that we should all look at practicing, the amount of sleep that we have, not avoiding stimulants just before we go to bed, being aware of the natural light and the light that we are exposed to before we go to bed, ensuring that we establish a regular relaxing bedtime routine, avoid napping in the day, etc. So there's many aspects that you can actually adopt to enhance your or to encourage a good sleep pattern and hygiene. Don't do things you hate. Try new things out, but make sure that you are not causing stress for yourself. That you are not causing you to stress that you are running away from. Plan ahead, make an appointment with yourself and make it a priority. Keep your routine simple. You must not feel like it's just another chore that you're doing because you're wanting to take care of yourself. Taking care of myself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. So I want to just challenge you to probably draw up your bingo game in terms of self-care. Look at your first aid kit and what's going into it. Write down a 5-day self-care challenge, day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look at what you can do for yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, socially, and spiritually. Activities that you enjoy. In terms of reaching out for support, I shared with you our chs.sss at ukzn.ac.za email. If you feel that you would like to chat with us, please feel free to contact us. The slide in front of you is also giving you a toll-free number and numbers for the SEDAC, which is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week toll-free line that you can contact for any kinds of difficulties you're feeling or wanting further support and assistance. I just want to say that we care about our students, both undergrad and postgrad, and we aim to get to know you better. So just watch the space. We will be sharing with you our wellness assessment. It's a tool that we use to better understand our students across all the different domains and how it impacts on your life. We get to know you so that we'll be able to timelessly offer you services, support, and intervention so that we can meaningfully intervene and help you to connect with people and resources that will help you to heal and be successful in this academic journey. That's it from me, and I know that time is always a factor, and I hope I managed to get through everything, but the crux was to help you to start thinking about your own self-care routines, your first aid, your mental health first aid kit, and putting a plan into place for taking care of yourself across the different domains.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Willie. Thank you, Christy, as well. When I'm walking away here with a couple of challenges for myself, you know, tomorrow, I'm not going to react. Tomorrow, I'm going to create a safe, comfortable space for myself to start the day. So thank you for that. That's my big old take home now to add to my list of things to do. Let me just share before we go the last,
Yeah,
Can you see it?
sorry, and there was a comment in the chat space as well about my point 5. I just want to look at what my point 5 was. Give yourself permission to feel good and to want what you want. And there was a chat that's on the chat space that says, you know, it's often difficult for us, especially as women, to be able to you know, make ourselves a priority.
I mean, you said 5 minutes. I mean, 5 minutes for when? When am I going to fit 5 minutes for myself? There's so many things to do. Yeah, but we need it. We need it, or else we're all going to burn out. I mean, not only women, men as well. I mean, it's very important to focus on self-care.
Absolutely. So just to sum that point up, that is what self-care is about. It's for us to be able to say, stop, hang on. I have to do me so that I can do you and everything else. Thank you for those comments.
Put your own oxygen mask on before you help other people with theirs.
Absolutely. So next week, we'll be continuing this conversation, moving on from the wellness continuum and focusing more on work and studying and personal life balance. So loads more notes and challenges to take on, thanks to the SSS team. Thank you so much for all the participants, all the participation, the interaction during the session. I hope we all walked away with something fantastic in the back of our mind to make sure that our wellness comes first. Right.
Thank you, Lenine. Thank you, students, for having us. And I really do hope you take away something rich with you and you'll start your self-care plans today.
Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gents.
We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Next week's a holiday, Lenine. Next week's a holiday.
No, when is it? Oh,
the 21st.
Right, the 28th of, oh yes, there's a holiday. Okay, the 28th of March. We'll see you on the 28th of March. Okay, take care, everybody.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you very much. Go well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.